congratulations and their concerns with regard to the recent loss of Nikki's mother. And thank you, Commissioner, for presiding over the meeting and for all of y'all's thoughts of concern and prayers. And thanks to my able assistant in here, Timmy, for going through the immediate rescheduling that had to be done with regard to some of the hearings and things that had to be set. So thanks to all of the county government family. I think Mickey just got through with a thank you note for that plant. It was real pretty that I intend to display right up here, but she has not released that to me yet. But anyway, much obliged. Sure appreciate it. Okay. We'll call the meeting to order. This special meeting of the Young County Commissioners Court, Monday, November the 17th, 2014. It's about 9:34 a.m. Make note that notice of this meeting was given in time in the manner prescribed, and that all members of the court are present. If it fits, let's all rise. I think this is through. We'll wait to send our invitation and our pledges.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We ask that you guide and direct us to your will. Thank you so much for the rain that you have given us, and the moisture. We ask for just a little bit more. Thank you so much. We ask that you would be with our troops overseas and guide and direct us, sustain us on. These things we ask in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you very much. Okay, item number 3 is the actual purpose for this meeting, and that is to canvass the results of the November 4th election. And with the court's pleasure, we'll do that this time.
Just randomly do it.
And we may have some comments from our election administrator. Ms. Warren, so.
Okay, what you've got in front of you is your regular canvas report. Several of you have a sheet on top that says the notice of outcome to provisional voters. But that's just, Judge Bullock and I had talked this morning about the number of provisional voters we had this time, and he was curious as to why some of them didn't count. That's a letter that we send to each one of those provisionals, and it gives the reasons why. I just tallied them up on that sheet for you. Stacy, yours is from Olney, so it's got both the city of Olney and 23 as a whole on your ticker tape, so that one's going to be a little wonky looking, but otherwise it's just like we've done in the past of going through and kind of making sure the numbers on the ticker tapes look like they make sense. They will not match the provisionals. And
Can I ask you a question?
yes.
I have bunches of folks tell me that if they voted the straight party ticket, they cannot vote on the local.
Yeah.
Was that any of that true?
No. What they're doing when they're voting straight tickets is they push one button on the first screen, they push cast ballot, and they don't scroll through and look at each page.
I got you.
The local option was on the last page. Per state requirements, things have to go in certain orders. And so that was the next to the last option on the ballot, and somewhere over 200 people probably missed it because we had a difference of 200, and I think the paper said 261 that voted for the governor and not for the local option. So somewhere in there, there's people who did not vote for the local option because they didn't see it.
Technically, be called an undervote.
It is an undervote, yes. That is something I've told voters with the new machines, that will not be an issue because it will bring up each measure on its own screen so that they don't miss things. So that's the the issue on that one. So they did get to vote, whether they read their ballot or not, was,
If they cast the vote, then they dismissed it.
that's exactly right. And we had lots of them say, can we come back and vote again? And I said, you absolutely may, but I will call the DA's office on that and let them know that you just committed it that way. So,
Can't keep your fire.
I would advise against it, yes. We did have pretty good little voter turnout, about 40%, looks like, which is only 100 voters different than 2010, which was our last gubernatorial. There was also a local option on that ballot for the city of Albany. So it was a fairly comparable election.
Can you give me your overview of what you thought about the change of location on the early vote?
Most voters liked it. My poll workers loved it. There was room to move, there was room to do. I ended up personally not having to work all weekend right before the election because I was able to do things in my office that I can't normally do with 6 other people in there. So the library has invited us back, which is always a good thing. We didn't wear out our welcome. So, and they were more than accommodating. So we really appreciated them and have done our best to make sure that they know that. So.
There's only one party chair here. Mylon, was it okay with you that change of location?
Yeah, space is just an issue here at the courthouse. I think, personally, I think the courthouse being a central location is probably better, but there's no space really for the early voting. And the library worked out really well. In fact, there were, as I understand it, there was a line of people that first day, Monday morning, at the library waiting for them to open up. So, it didn't, I don't think it affected anybody's ability to get to early voting.
Sometimes habits are hard to break, though. Some of these folks have been voting a long time.
Yeah, there's another meeting here. Little snippets of the legal just about change location, but not many. I got one question more.
Yes, sir.
They can, they were asked.
We'll see
I
here
know,
where
that didn't print out.
well,
Oh.
4 that were registered to vote, but voted in the wrong precinct. Does that negate the whole ballot?
Yes.
Well, is there not a provision where I can vote on statewide elections?
That's a limited ballot that can only be done during early voting,
Oh, that's only early vote.
only during early voting. You cannot vote a limited ballot on election day.
Very good.
So many of those that you have, I have just 2 on mine.
Provisionals,
No, voted.
wrong precinct.
Is that not the election worker's job to catch that?
They can, and I can tell you, you're voting in Jean, but you're registered in Loving, and you can look at me and say, I'm not driving to Loving, it's raining outside. And I can say, you're more than welcome to vote here, and you can do it provisionally. And it'll be up to the voter register whether or not it counts. So, most of those are given the choice.
All right.
So, there were probably 10, 12 that voted in the wrong precinct.
Can I comment on that? They're not allowed to vote a regular ballot. If you're not in the right precinct,
Right.
you're handed a provisional ballot if you want to vote, which is different. So it's not just automatically let you in, because what you're talking about is the election clerks, election judges, that's true, they aren't gonna let you vote.
Because if you came from 16 to 22 to vote, you would be voting on the alcohol, on this one, the alcohol ballot, and on the JP ballot. I can't let your vote count because you're not allowed to vote on those 2 things.
Right.
So it really negates your entire ballot. So,
What if you decide later in the day that I'll just go up and vote in my regular precinct?
well, again, I'll be visiting with
The
Ms.
deal.
Peavy, but by the end of the afternoon, so. That
Get
is
that
one.
word out there.
That is one downfall of not having vote centers right now, is that we have to trust that people aren't running back and forth to different polling locations. If we were to go vote centers, then we would have, like we do in early voting, all of our computers connected wirelessly, and it would give us real-time updates as to who's voted where
but there's no way another precinct can find that their name's been checked off as having voted already.
not without calling me. And even then, I have to go call them and, it's a lot of back and forth. So. But if they vote provisionally in the wrong precinct and then decide to go to the right precinct, I throw out the wrong precinct ones without any trouble, so.
Can you tell me what kind of problems there were around voting machines this last year? And is our machine prone to that kind of thing?
The calibration issue.
Calibration issue
Talked
where
about.
the vote for Republican changed to Democrat?
From what I understand, what little bit of research I've done on that, that was the ES&S system, that's a 10-year-old touchscreen technology. How it got calibrated badly, I don't know. I'm not willing to volunteer information on that because I'm not in Chicago and I don't know. Our safeguard against that is that Hart does all of our ballot programming, so none of that's done in-house, in-county. It's all done by outsiders who have no interest in what we do in Young County as far as who gets elected. We looked into it at one point about producing our own ballots and our own MVVs. That's only $65,000 and a lot of risk that I'm not willing to try to take on myself because I don't want it to come back on me. I don't like that. I don't have $65,000. So running it through an outside source is probably our greatest benefit, and it costs us anywhere between $1,500 and $5,000 an election. So this one was closer to $5,000 because there's 36 measures on the ballot. So they've got little price breaks along the way, but yeah, that's what I can tell.
Did you have any problem with voter ID?
We had 2 that showed up without their ID. They never came back and cured it, so that's their decision. Their ballots didn't count that way. But as far as ID itself, no. The confusion, again, right in front of the election, where things were changing minute by minute, was more of an issue for me and my poll workers and trying to educate them as to what they could and couldn't use as identification. I literally told one class, I will give you a sheet, it will be in your book on election day. That's the best I can tell you right now.
So no one protested the voter ID saying, I don't have my ID and I think it's wrong, we should have one?
Whether they said it or not, they say stuff like that all the time. We kind of go, okay, thanks, and we need to see your photo ID.
The chances are the lady didn't come back, didn't have ID.
That, or they just
Little.
blew it off. A lot of them do. They just blew it off. And so it's a lot of trouble to drive up to the courthouse and show me your driver's license.
Or there was warrants out for arrest.
What makes you question how they got to the courthouse?
Yeah.
I will say I've done it.
Everything looks good on mine. They switched over on the one down to the against it, the proposition. That's the only thing it did.
Yes, it
Against, it flipped.
the wording on it.
Okay.
Case Stacy Clark. Well, running 2 of them at once is.
Follow the lead. I tell you what's trying to do now. City council did. That's what surprised me. City council did. That surprised me. I seen that. It's right in the it appeared to be that low.
Yeah. I know. I'm just not sure if he just cut in from work or what. I don't know.
Were your workers in early voting like for being at the library better?
Yes.
There are better facilities.
It is, and it,
Restrooms.
yeah, I mean, it was clean, it was off the beaten path, so you didn't have all the courthouse traffic and noise and that sort of thing. They had that entire room to themselves.
They're a big room.
It's a big room, they weren't sitting in each other's laps
Right.
and that sort of thing, so they really did enjoy it.
Really good. I mean, I got it out of there really.
Yeah, it does, and
There were
then,
several people there. I was there.
yeah, the lines moved a lot better than it does trying to snake them in and out of my office. It's more accessible as far as people with disabilities.
Yeah.
They can move. We have one voter that's in a scooter chair, that's a rather large chair, and we've always had trouble getting them in and out of my office just because of the size.
Yeah.
So, that worked a lot
Do you
better.
have your usual coworkers?
Yes.
Is it not good in your estimation that we separate the polling location from the elections administrator's office anyway?
I say that.
I think that would be,
That the election administrator's office should not be a polling place,
I think it'd be a good idea not to do that.
since you are
You know, if I had a bigger office, like, you know, I know we talked, the judge and I, about different rooms in the building, you know, if we built new buildings or whatever. If there was a way to keep me out of the middle of it, you know, if I was off to a
to
room.
keep you segregated from the polling, though, I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
I think we had a little bit of trouble with some electioneering problem with a sign at the
Yeah,
polling location.
on election day, we had some signage, complaints.
That's for me and up and down the Cherry Street, or again, or again.
Yeah, and really, you know, the best I can do is order 100-foot tapes, and if there's ever a conflict, I will have them in my car, and I will go and measure out, and we'll have official.
All had to do with distances,
It did.
distance from sign
And
over the.
when the poll worker tried to move the sign, it broke, and so she wasn't able to stick it back down in the ground where it should have gone, and so she moved it in the building because it was pouring down rain. And then there were some signs that I still don't know where they went from Bethel Baptist, but there were some that left, so
This election was rather contentious along that regard. There was a lot of signage being moved and disappearing and what have you.
Exactly.
Let's go on football field, they always show up later.
I think the elections judge, the precinct judge has the discretion on that measuring 100 feet from.
From the entrance to the location, but
I don't think there was discrepancy except for 5, 6 feet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's something. Oh, yeah.
What's the sad thing about it is the talk after the election.
Where do you measure from? Front door?
The entrance.
The entrance is what it says, but how you interpret the entrance is it the entrance to the auditorium or the CTC, or is it the entrance, you know, it's a little ambiguous, so. You know, any good lawyer can find a loophole.
I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
They never clarify stuff.
Yes, sir.
Could I make a recommendation, and I already talked to Lauren about this, but, you know, I would sure be in favor of getting some cones or something more permanent. What we normally get is just a piece of paper, and of course, in the rain, it didn't hold up. Normally, we don't even have that problem. Normally, we don't even have any problem with electioneering tree. But I'm going to just guess this issue's going to be up every time. And I would prefer some kind of a cone or something that we can, that's more permanent, that we can use election after election. And, you know,
And there are,
Cone for voting here.
well,
no, it says-
Electioneering passes.
yeah,
there's a stated,
distance marker
So
information.
maybe a little sign
Well-
that's gonna put out there permanently.
Actually, what I've looked at, there's a vendor, that
That you
makes
move.
little signs that fit down into the tops of cones. And that may be our best bet. The only issue again that, Kyle and I talked about was, you know, it's really easy to pick up a cone, move it 3 or 4 feet at a time. And so what we do is probably drive a stake underneath it so that we can see, hey, there's a hole in the ground now, somebody's moved our cone and our stake. So, you know, yes, it's going to continue to come up, whether it's alcohol or hospitals or, you know, Mike Sykes running for commissioner. There's going to be electioneering and issues that come up along the way. So yes, I'm looking at some of those vendors and that sort of thing. So we'll massage my budget to see if we can find a place to pull that.
Did anybody find any unordinary circumstances with regard to the numbers on the tally sheet?
If it
Very
is,
differentiated.
if the variance that she said it would fit,
Okay, I guess that was
I'll make a motion to ratify this.
motion that we ratify, certify the results of the November the 4th election.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have that motion from Commissioner Wiley, second by Commissioner Sykes. All in favor of certifying the results of that election? I believe we're certified. Very good.
You know, we make them come up with something for you, like some of those barrels that we have. Figure out how to put a time in them.
And,
I don't know, well, thank
you know, Rebecca's got a bunch of good catalogs and stuff in her office that we can look through, and then I've got some in mind that are election specific that we can look through, so, yeah, I mean, I think we've got enough cones or barrels.
How
or
many,
whatever
how many
we-
markers would we need? How many precincts are
We have 9 precincts,
there?
so
Precincts.
there's a couple of places I might need 2, NCTC and that sort of thing, just that may have more than one official entrance, but.
Were they cool with the election being there and didn't bother?
Our issue with NCTC is that we're never able to get in there early enough to get everything ready to go at 7 o'clock. And that's due to their staffing issues and that sort of thing. So, that's always an issue. And it's a little troubling sometimes to get in there at 6:45 to have everything ready to go at 7. That does not give us time for machines not to start up and troubleshooting and that sort of thing. So, you know, when you only start those things up every 3 or 4 months, they cannot go out to start up immediately. And
Rebecca could make those signs like she's talking about, and we can make brackets. And that's probably a 1 inch or 1 inch hole in top of those cones. So you could drive it right in the ground right there.
Maybe use 2 cones. It'll- I don't know.
Well, one cone with a piece of 1 inch pipe in the.
Oh, I know what you're saying, yeah.
Roll in, then it's not going, they can come up and just pick it up and move it off.
Okay, electricity. Yeah, I do that.
So we're looking at our next election being next year's primary, or?
no, we'll have May elections and then we'll have constitutional in November.
I don't know, we may until that. Okay, I think we've had elections about every 3 or 4 months, the last 4 or 5 years.
I've done 5 since I started it last time.
This your first general?
It's my first general, but I've done 5 different elections since I started.
That's just been about a year.
I've been a year and 2 weeks.
Okay, according to the election code, Texas Election Code 67.016, it's duty of the commission of the county judge and the presiding officer of the commissioner's court to issue certificates of election. I ask you to approve the certificate of election. Okay. Jimmy Wiley. A certificate of election. As well as all the rest of the county elected officials for each one. Chris Barron will have a certificate elected to an unexpired term. And I think he's going to swear in today. I believe we've probably got enough time to finish our meeting, so.
Thank you, Phil. That's first.
Yeah. Does the treasurer have? I was gonna say, does Ann have one? She does. Okay.
Get one too.
And like, I'm on my face.
Make sure I wasn't.
Well, she's here to make a presentation.
No need to discount me.
We like it.
You won, didn't you?
Not more than 51% of the vote.
Got a campaign.
I know.
Didn't have any to start with.
Did you vote for yourself?
Couldn't.
I know.
Neither.
Didn't have a box by our name, did we?
We'll see the new Dylan
Obviously, that speaks to the character, guys.
Okay, let's, we'll move to item number 4, public comments, announcements, and presentations. The only thing that I have on here is, just to notify that, the county will be selling some vehicles and equipment at the auction in Bunger on November the 22nd. Yeah, November the 22nd. Various vehicles and equipment, I believe, as it's advertised. Is there anything else?
I've got an update on their roof at the jail. They got all the insulation and everything down on the metal part. They were set up to probably start on that this week on putting the metal up. And they had a little taboo on the roll of metal that they roll out to make the sheets with. They're working on that. And they're probably half done, close to it, up on the flat roof. On the PPO, whatever, that they're using up there.
Have you looked at it at all?
I had climbed up on top.
We need to make sure they get those drainage
Yes.
pipes.
That's
They were thoroughly done before.
Yeah.
It's caused some problems at the edge of the roof anyway.
That's probably the last thing they'll do.
They'll do.
Yeah.
The PVC was running too long, the length between the stand-ups too, it's bellying out and holding.
They're supposed to put stands underneath these, I believe, to hold them up.
How far apart was that?
They didn't say how far. I'll make sure that there's no dips in it.
Kind of regular inspection, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's got the right drainage going to it.
Completely off in that area.
Close to 50%.
Close to 50%.
Yeah.
I know Don was in the office, one day last week, and he believe he declared that they had all their things on the side. Preparing at the time to get with it.
It's been working along pretty good. They worked every day but Sunday. They worked all day Saturday.
Judge, do you have any further information on the email you sent us about the abstract fire? Whether or not the abstracts were salvaged and saved by fire?
The last word that I got was that they had some water damage. Those abstract books were in the vault, and they did have, some of them had some water damage, but I understood they would all be salvageable. I think there were some old documents that were lost in there. I don't think that they had relevance other than historical value, and that's just my understanding, hearsay, basically. So I haven't talked to Philip or one of the direct owners, I guess.
When was the last time we lost the downtown building to fire?
Oh, I don't know.
Did the driver hotel burn? Wasn't it torn down?
Yeah.
I think that's the last one.
That's a pretty good fire record considering what was
You know, this one they
I
thought was
wish
the
they
road.
had burned, but not to the ground.
not the drain, yes, small fire. They tried to burn it, didn't they? I had a total home loss 24 hours after that.
Access to this
It's
other
like-
building where they could move
Car,
the state did.
Yeah, the car may have started it, I'm sure.
What do you say?
I think
I don't know if it already started, but what had to do.
Well,
It'll be too interesting.
Yeah, I think it was the deal. They could come to it. They were one of the
Like you did now.
but that, I haven't heard that from, to be able to verify that, but I understand that the books were all salvaged. That would have been critical loss, so.
That's pretty well this record of, historic record of land ownership in Lynn County.
Yeah.
Go way back.
1856.
Back in the engine days.
Okay, Is there anything else? Okay, let's Move to item number 5, and that's the county clerk minutes from the previous meeting. That's November the 10th, 2014. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections that need to be made to it?
So then you
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Pruitt, second by Commissioner Sykes, to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor? Carried. Consider payment of vouchers.
We paid a few bills this week. The total of the bills were $21,129.76. And the general, out of the general fund was $18,853.18.
So moved. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Rogers and second by Commissioner Smiley to approve the vouchers payable as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 7, you'll have in your package forfeiture reports from the district attorney, the county sheriff, and the county attorney. Is there any discussion on that?
Anybody here from the office?
No one had anything to report except for the district attorney. And I looked over, she had copies of their bank statements, most I guess you would do it. And I looked at all those balances and verified those.
Yeah, very well, there's no forfeitures held by the sheriff or the county attorney.
No, sir.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve those reports.
So,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
5 votes. Okay, item number 8, I believe y'all discussed this last week and came to agreement. It looked like it kind of followed the previous year's schedule. I think all we need to do is if there is not any changes to that schedule, modifications to it, then you entertain a motion to ratify that.
so,
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. We have a holiday schedule, 2015 calendar year. Item number 9, consider burn restrictions. Any action to be taken there?
I don't see anything right now.
Might make one mention with regard to burn restrictions, it might ought to come up here for comments. If we do anything with regard to fireworks, we'll need to do that by the 15th of December.
We'll have, what, 2 more meetings?
Yes.
About 124 next Monday.
Not getting much rain, we're getting these little drizzles pretty regular.
Yeah.
Moisture.
I believe that's the agenda.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Hey.
All in favor of adjourn? 5 votes.